Like, I want to be a teacher, and my phone just alerted me that I'm almost out of space. But like, I don't know. And I would go back here, therapy, teaching. I signed up for the master's program. No, that's really not what I want to do. I withdrew my application. I went back to studying for teaching. I got through that. Saw the webinar. Let me try therapy again. So I called them and was like, okay, I will do therapy. I'll be a therapist. I can't see myself teaching. I'm struggling to convince myself that I want to be a teacher. If I have to convince myself to do it, that means I'm not really interested in being a teacher. Let's do therapy. No, therapy's not my thing. I want to be a teacher. I want to be in a classroom. Literally a daily thing, it seemed. I want to be a therapist. No, I want to be a teacher. No, I want to be a therapist. And it just like, I was going to work and having anxiety attacks. Like, one day I went to work and I had almost an hour and a half long anxiety attack, hyperventilating, like crying, like unable to speak, freaking out. There was just so much crap going on at once. Like, I forgot my alphabet. I was sitting there trying to put drugs up on the shelf, and I was like, is this a fast mover or a slow mover? I don't even know where this medication is supposed to be on the counter. I don't know my ABCs. I can't put these things in alphabetical order. And I was like freaking out, and it was just like people shouting in my head, like, you need to do this, nobody likes you, like, you're struggling, you're stupid, all this. And like, I just broke down. I just couldn't do it anymore. This was going on for 3 days in my head, and finally I just broke down and just was hyperventilating and crying. And I was like, maybe it's this new medication that they put me on, this, because I'm still having breathing problems. It's been going on for almost a year now. They gave me this new inhaler. Like, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's this allergy medication that they put me on that, is messing with my depression, because that is one of the side effects. But I had never actually gone and gotten it diagnosed on paper and got medicated for it. But that was just the end of the line right there. Like, having an hour and a half long anxiety attack was just the end of it for me. Like, my husband had been telling me when I was a teenager it was really, really bad. But my husband's been telling me for a long time, like, you need to go get this checked out. And that anxiety attack was what did it for me. So I went to the doctor, got my depression diagnosed, I got medicated. So things are a little better. I don't hear constant chattering. I don't have the racing thoughts, but I'm still struggling. So a couple weeks ago, reapplied for a master's program. Twice applied for a master's program. So I called them and was like, hey, so if I'm gonna do a master's program, it might as well be in special education. So I canceled the therapy master's. I signed up I skipped a step. One day when I was struggling, I was just like, okay, one of my classes in college was career development, and we had to go talk to a career counselor, and I did the Myers-Briggs personality test. I did the strong interest inventory. And basically it tells you like what your personality is suited for, the kind of job, the kind of career that would fit your personality type. And with the two of those combined, I told her about being 50-50, and she was like, okay, well, so you want to be a therapist, you're going to school for psychology. She's like, that's all well and good, but I want you to look at these test results real quick. And in the top 10 and the top 5 on these 2 different exams, there was teaching. And she was like, I know you want to be a therapist, but that's lower down on the list. You can do it. I'm not saying change your major. I was in my final semester or second to last semester of my bachelor's degree. She's like, I'm not saying change your major. I'm just saying consider teaching. Like, you have the personality to be a teacher. You have the interest. It's there. It's right here on paper. It came out when you took this assessment that you would be great at being a teacher. Like, so when I'm sitting here struggling one day, I was like, let me look back at these exams. I have the printouts. Let me look at them. And I looked at every single page, and education was in like the top 5. And sometimes therapy was in the top 20. It was like further down on the list. And, you know, she pointed that out and was like, you can do it. If that's what you want to do, go, by all means, do it. But I want you to consider teaching. It's more suited for your personality. It's higher on the list. But so is being an engineer. And I'm not, like, I love building stuff, but I'm not a math person at all. Military was in there. So that was like the negativity that I kept putting in my head. I was like, teaching is in there, yeah, but so is being in the military. And I tried that, and that didn't work out. Like, I wasn't in the military, but I did ROTC in college, and I had to drop out like 2 months in. I couldn't do it anymore. I was having nightmares. I was like losing sleep. I couldn't focus through the day. Like, I was panicking about going to these labs, about paintballing. Like, I've been paintballing, but just doing it in a military setting, like being out there in the camo, like with all of our equipment, and going out there and having to like pretend to be in war, scared the living daylights out of me. I couldn't do it. I dropped it. So, and I don't regret that decision. I was really glad that I signed up for it, because it was definitely an experience. I toyed with the idea of doing military psychology. I really don't want to do that. No. That was like, no. So I'm looking at these tests, right? So I see military, and I'm like, no, I tried that. It didn't work. But because it's higher on the list than teaching, I kept kind of trying to talk myself out of it, you know, but therapy was way down on the list. And I was like, the mock therapy sessions that I did were crap. I was not good at it. I loved doing observations. I loved getting up at 5:30 in the morning, and I told myself when I was doing it, I absolutely love this. Like, I would wake up excited, ready to go. My brain was in gear, and I was like, yes, let's go do this. I'm gonna go watch this lady teach, you know, like, it wasn't the newness. It was being back in a school, being in a classroom, and not like a college classroom. That was totally different, but like being in that elementary setting, it was just amazing. And so yesterday I called. There was a form that came up in my email from, you know, this master's program, was like, you need to go fill out this information. So I was like, okay. And I got on there, and this wasn't yesterday. This was a week or 2 ago. But I got on there, and there was a form, and it was like an experience form, and it said, do you have experience in a classroom teaching, substituting, tutoring, after school programs, something like that? Do you have experience? Experience is required. And I was like, crap, well, if experience is required, I can't do this master's program. And below it, and one of the enrollment counselors that I had talked to did say access to a classroom is required, because you have to go do observations. Some of your classes require that you go into a classroom and observe. And so yesterday I called them, and in the back of my mind, I told my husband this, I told my best friend this yesterday, and I was just like, I called them with the intent of dropping out of, it hadn't started, the class start date was coming up soon, August 10th, and in the back of my mind, I was like, this is not what you want to do. You don't want to do this. Just call them and just withdraw your application. So I called them, and the guy, my enrollment counselor was a woman. She was unavailable, like they typically are at this school. So I just spoke to the next available representative, and this guy gets on there, and he's like, oh, so I asked him about that being a requirement. He was like, no, it's not a requirement, but you are required to have access to a classroom to do observations. So they're asking if you have experience It's not required that you do, but below that, it says, will you have access to a classroom? And I was like, well, yes, I just heard that the school district that I live in is doing hybrid classes. Some students, if you want to do in person, you can do in person. If you want to do online, you can do online. I am not sending my child in person. She's doing online. So this was one more thing that was coming up in my mind. Like, I'm working. I'm still studying on the 240 tutoring for teaching. So I dropped the therapy. I just completely eliminated that possibility. So I'm done with therapy. Done with therapy. I was like, okay, well, I'm still going to work towards my teaching certificate, but I already signed up for this master's program. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll just try to do both. I'll just do like one class during my master's program. Y'all, I went on there. I completed my financial aid. I did my master promissory note for my loans. I started orientation because I found out orientation has been going for the last 3 weeks, and I had 8 more days to complete orientation, and classes were going to start. The semester was going to start right at the end of it. So I called this guy with the intent of dropping out of the thing. And he said, oh, well, you haven't submitted your application yet. You can go ahead and do that. And then, everything is set up. He clarified the teaching experience is not a requirement. So I was like, okay, yeah. So maybe it was just because I was on the phone with him and I felt pressured or something. Like, I went ahead and I submitted the application. I did all of my financial aid stuff. I came in here. This is in my bedroom. I came to my computer with the intention of getting on 240 tutoring and studying all day yesterday. But then I sat down and was like, oh, I need to call that university back, and hopefully they'll tell me that teaching experience is a requirement. And I can say, oh, darn, I don't have that. Well, I guess I can do this master's program. Sorry, thanks. That's not what happened. So I guess I got flustered that 50-50 started up again. I don't know. And I came in here and I wound up submitting my application for the master's program, finishing my financial aid stuff, and starting orientation. That was not what I intended to do yesterday. I was kind of upset with myself, and I was sitting there and I just started like freaking out all over again. So yes, I got my depression diagnosed. I got medicated. It's not really helping with the anxiety. The anxiety has lessened, yes, but it's still in there. Like, I'm still mentally having a freak out, and I'm like panicking, and it's still going on. It's still a struggle. So I realized, like, I'm sitting here and I'm doing this orientation, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So orientation, I have a week left to complete it. There's 2 assignments, 2 quizzes, and some other stuff that I have to do in the next 8 days. And then the classes start. They're mini-mesters. So I've never done a mini-mester in my life. So these semesters are 2 months long for master's classes. And I'm just sitting there and all this stuff is coming. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this. I want to be in a classroom. I want to teach. And like, even yesterday, I was like, maybe I don't even want to do special ed, because during that webinar, they said you work with several other teachers doing IEPs, the specialized lesson plans. You're working one-on-one with these kids, or you can be a resource teacher, have your own classroom. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yes, I felt like that was my calling and that really touched me. But was that really my calling? Like, I still really want to teach 1st or 2nd grade. And it was because my 1st grade teacher was absolutely horrible to me. And I decided when I was 7 or 8 years old, no kid should have a teacher like that. Like, she should not be teaching. She is still teaching. Like, she's retiring this year. I am 32 years old. That was my 1st grade teacher, and she's just now retiring. But I was like, and my best friend went to that same school, and she said, yes, even though that teacher moved grades and she was not in first grade anymore, she was still a horrible teacher. Like, still, she was a complete jerk to her students. That's just how she was. Like, her kids were the same way. But, like, that was my driving force. Like, I wanted to be a teacher because of her. Like, I guess that's a good thing. Like, I mean, being a teacher, you always want to encourage your students. You always want to be remembered by your students. Well, she is remembered by her students, but it's because she's a jerk. So that was my driving force. So, like, as I'm sitting here and I'm doing orientation yesterday, I was just like, what am I doing? Like, this is way too much. Like, I'm going to be working hopefully 4 days a week. I may, start struggling with my bills because I changed my availability at work to be off Monday, Wednesday, and Friday because I elected to do online with my daughter. It's a brand new grade, so obviously I'm going to have to teach her. She's going into second grade, which is a grade I wanted to teach. I'm going to have to teach her second grade. I'm so teaching her, working towards studying for this PACT exam. And then I was going to try to throw a master's degree on top of that. I was like, what am I doing? I am setting myself up for failure. Like, my GPA is already not great. I had to bust my butt to get it back up into the above a 2.0. I graduated with a 2.4, and like, that's not a great GPA to graduate with, but it was still above a 2.0, so I was not on academic probation. I was not suspended anymore. I worked my butt off to get it above that 2.0. I passed statistics, and I am not a math person. Like, pat on the back for that, But trying to do a master's degree while still, I was not letting go of teaching. I already convinced myself I was not letting go of teaching. So I was still going to work towards my teacher certification, getting into Texas Teachers. That is my goal. I want to get in there. I want to get through the program as fast as I can. I want to get into my internship where I'm teaching in a classroom. I want to get there ASAP. But then I'm trying to throw a master's degree on top of that. And I'm like, I'm trying to learn to be a teacher. And then I'm trying to learn how to be a special education teacher on top of that. And I'm like, I'm working towards two different goals right here. And so yesterday, like, I almost had another freak out. And I was just like, what am I doing? And I went online. I was already I was to the point of coming in here to my computer again and doing my assignments for orientation. I came in here and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Like, why am I setting myself up like this? Like, if I'm trying to do all this at once, teaching is either going to go on the back burner again, and I'm just going to give up on doing that, or I'm still going to try to do both at the same time, and I'm going to screw up my GPA with this master's program. I'm going to fail the classes, and I'm going to get kicked out. Like, this is what I'm setting myself up for. And I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I working towards my master's to perfect my teaching when I am not a teacher? I don't know anything about teaching. I've had one education class, one. That doesn't mean I need to go get a master's and perfect my teaching skills. I have none. So it finally just occurred to me, and I was like, you know what? I'll withdraw my application again. If that hurts me from getting back into my master's program, that's fine. I don't really care at this point. I need to stop doing this to myself. Like, I need to stop trying to do so many things at once. It's like starting a craft project and never finishing it. That's what I'm doing right now. Like, I've applied to Texas Teachers. I did all that. I've been doing this for months. I've been working towards this for months, and I still have not taken this PACT exam. I'm still not in the teaching program. I graduated over a year ago now, and I still haven't done anything with myself. And I'm just like, I'm so impatient with myself, and I'm basically getting fed up. Like, so, no, go out.
Oh, I didn't know that you were over.
No, I'm not. So I'm just like, I just had it yesterday. Like, I should probably get my anxiety taken care of, but at this moment, at least my head is together enough that I did away with that master's program. Like, I don't want to screw up my GPA that I worked so hard to fix. And I set out to do a task, which was get my teaching certification, and I need to finish that. Like, I want to teach. I want to be in a first or second grade classroom. I'm not even sure I want to do special education anymore. Like, in my mind right now, all I want to do is get my teacher certification and teach. I want to be in a classroom. I want to teach all the subjects. I bought these the other day because I thought they were super cute. And this is one of them. And I keep looking. They're little clothespins. And it's got math, art, science, history, and English. And I keep looking at this. And I'm like, I want to teach all of these subjects in their entirety. Like, I don't want to just do special education. Like, I don't want to just help kids with one grade that they're struggling in. Like, I want to do all of it. Like, I want to do first or second grade. Like, why do I keep trying to tell myself I want to do something different, you know? Like, and I keep thinking back to those observations that I did, and I keep thinking about it. I'm like, you were so happy in these observations. Like, you were so gung-ho to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get ready and go to these classrooms and just watch these kids in this learning environment and watch them evolve, watch them soak up all this information like a sponge. Like, that was exciting for me. And I was like, why am I trying to convince myself that that's not what I want? Like, I loved that. So I have done away with the master's program. If they don't let me back in later on, whenever I want to do it, that's fine. I'll find a different program. So one of the benefits of getting my master's degree and working in special education, this is one thing that I found out with the webinar that I attended for Texas teachers. They do a whole bunch of these, by the way. So if you are signed up in there, they'll send you these emails for these webinars. You have to go on there and register, and you just watch them on your computer. It's mostly audio. But, well, it is audio. Like, you don't actually, you see their picture, their icon, but you don't actually see the person. But one of the things on there is that if, and I saw it again yesterday with the doing my financial aid, if you are in a high needs area of teaching, after you do that for 5 years, special education is one of those. If you teach that for 5 years, they will forgive up to $18,000 of your loans. That's what it said on the I forget what the website is, but like financialaid.gov or something. It's on the government website. If you teach one of those high needs areas for 5 years, they will forgive, I believe, up to $18,000 of your student debt gone. So I am sitting at $17,000 right now. So if I got my master's and taught special ed, I don't even know if I have to have my master's. Like, maybe I can just get a certification later on if that's what I feel like doing. If I get into a classroom and decide, no, I really don't want to do this, I want to teach special ed, maybe I'll do that. But right now, like, I need to stop messing with myself and just finish the first task that I set out to finish. So I really want to jump into the math. I'm going to start it today. I'm planning to be on it all day long. And I want to take this test in like the next 2 weeks. Like I've already set this in my head. Like I need to get in there, do the math, and just go take the test. It's not going to be big and scary. It's just like any other entrance exam that is going to test you on proficiency, on reading, writing, and math. I know my reading comprehension is not great. Again, I didn't go to school like other people. My last grade I completed was second. I did have to take a remedial reading class and a remedial math class in college. I barely passed remedial reading, and I had to retake remedial math twice, or I had to take it twice. But I had to take 3 different math classes to get up to that point. But just like with my GED, math was my lowest score. I barely passed it on my GED exam. So I knew math was a problem for me. And I know math is a problem for me. In first grade, you're teaching 1 plus 1. That's pretty freaking easy. I can multiply. I can sometimes divide. I don't know. I just like having to convince my brain to work backwards is just a struggle for me. I can do long division all day long, but I can't do regular like elementary division. I don't know why. It makes no sense. But anyways, I just hit the 1 hour mark. I feel a lot better. I'm like more energized. I wanted to give y'all an update, and I really want to do this. Like, I want to teach, and I want to take y'all along with me. Like, this was one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to help people who are struggling. And it works as therapy for me, too. So, I mean, if y'all want to sit and listen to me ramble for an hour about what my struggles and what I'm dealing with, thanks. Like, free therapy. Yay, me. But I want to help other people who are struggling. Like, I'm not the only person struggling like this, surely. But if I can help somebody through their struggles, that's great. Then I've accomplished something, you know? So I'm going to end this. I'm going to start on my math. I'm going to get through as much as I can. I'm going to go feed my kids because they're hungry. And I'm just going to start knocking it out. So I'm back to doing Texas Teachers 100%. I'm back to doing 240 tutoring, hopefully 100%. I will be teaching my daughter 2nd grade in about, I think they're starting August 28th because they did push back the beginning of the school year. So I've got some time. So I'm definitely hoping to have taken my test by then, but teaching her and doing my stuff online at the same time, I don't know how that's going to work. I don't know how 2nd grade online is going to work with her, if there's going to be some kind of instruction. I don't know. So I'll figure that out, I guess, but that's where I'm at right now. I wanted to give you all an update, tell you what I've been up to, where I'm going, all that. So thanks for sticking with me for over an hour. Hopefully, I say this at the end of every video. Hopefully the next time I see you, it will be after I have taken my stupid PACT exam. Bye, guys.